wanted to strip this right back and fully insulate it. That was one thing that we didn't do with my friend's Berlingo, as we only had a weekend to do it in. This was quite a painstaking job. As you can see, we've had to strip it completely back to the bare metal, but I knew it'd be well worth doing, as the last thing you want in a van conversion is condensation forming on the vehicle, running down the inside and rusting the vehicle from the inside out.
Okay, so we've stripped all the trim out from the back entirely. No nasty surprises, which is nice. No rust spots or anything anywhere. Literally no rust to prep whatsoever. So that's a result. Then brushed it out, giving it a good scrub with some detergent so that my spray adhesive is going to fix. Then, so I put some battens in the floor. Now the two that are on the outside, I've fixed into, there was some lashing points which I've taken off because they're always useful anyway. And then with these timbers, the 2 points where the lashing straps were mounted, which is here and here, I've then countersunk the batten and found a bolt with the same thread and fixed them in. Solves 2 problems. It fills up the hole and it secures it down nicely. So I've got a nice, good, solid fix in there. Then the 3 battens that are in the middle, these are just glued down with expanding polyurethane glue. They're nice and solid now, though. I've then filled in the gaps, as you can see, with some polystyrene, which is the same thickness as the battens. I've flown the 3 long battens over into the footwell here, as I intend to put some little cutouts in the floor here and use this area here for storage. Every little bit of storage that you can get in a small van is useful. Same as this little panel here. When I build this, I'm going to put a little flap in there so that that tiny little bit of storage can be used as well. So next job is to start cladding this with the bubble foil insulation. So I'm not going to spray it down on top of here, although I am going to put it down as a little bit of something extra. And then I'm going to spray adhesive it to all the panellings. I'm going to have to take all the rubber seals off so that I can get a nice, neat fix with that. There's a couple of areas like here that I'm going to stuff some recycled bottle insulation in, all these bits. They're probably not there, to be fair. But these big holes I will. And then it's a case of putting the trims back on. Now, I'm not quite sure. I'm definitely going to keep the light coloured trims, which are the top half light. That's probably all I'm going to get done tonight is the bubble insulation on. And then we'll see what we can get done on Friday, which I think is the next free day that I've got to get stuck into it. It's going to leave a little bit of a void on the sliding door on that side, which I intend to put a fold down ply table, which you can open up and then use from the outside. Maybe some hooks and stuff on it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe some kind of bag to hook to hang a waste bag or something. And then there'll be a piece here to fill in, which I'll build in a fixed unit, and that's going to have the leisure battery in it, and some bits that are accessible from the back. So maybe a water storage container or something. And then next to that is going to be some kind of fold out day bed type thing. Kind of like a rock and roll bed. I've tried to organize it so that there's exactly 90 centimeters width, which is the width of a single bed. When I've made one of these in the past, we did make it the full width of the van, just about, which did mean it would work for 2 people. But since really I think a van of this size is ideally suited to just a solo camper, I don't think there's any point in making the bed bigger than it needs to be. So the fold out rock and roll bed type thing here, which this section will be fixed. I'll put a fold out door on the back that you can use to cook on, etc. And gas stove and everything will go in there. Then there'll be a little bit of a wasted space here because we have this bit of rebate in this trim. So I'm going to build some kind of panel and then cut a top in that sits nicely into this rebate. But for the time being, that's the hard bit done with all this insulation. So moisture gathering on the roof won't be an issue now. I don't know how warm certain voids like this void here, I stuffed full of polystyrene insulation, quite thick as well. I can't really stuff this void because that's got the jack in, which I'm going to have to relocate actually. I'm not sure where I'm going to put that. So we'll see how warm it actually is. Like I say, the last one that I did of these had no it was done super quick, in a weekend, and she put no insulation in it or anything, and she used it in the summer fine. So we'll see. I wish I'd geeked out a bit really and done some kind of test and put a temperature gauge inside and measured the temperature on a hot day inside before I insulated it, and then did the same again with the bubble insulation. That would have been quite interesting. And then also at night I could have measured how cold it got inside and then what the difference was with the insulation. Since time is of the essence, that wasn't really an option today. This is only the second day though, so I think so far it seems to be going quite well. If we can get these units, I have got a tattoo in later on this afternoon, so I've got to be done by about 4. So if I can get these units in, maybe get this unit built up, and this unit at the side today, which will leave Sunday to do the rock and roll bed, and maybe some electrics. I definitely think that will be looking good for getting this finished by the end of next week.
With a bit of a mental plan,
vindictive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast, knock the roast, knock the gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past and the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness, hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious, mysterious, because you are behind a fake exterior, inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior, get off of me, this ain't no humble brag, I want you to hear words, you can say them back, I want you to feel free from the chains that last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah. Now that I'm moving through hell, I never got anyone's help, I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. That's for you to take away. I could play a million mind games, but instead I say something not illogical, something that is topical. Rub it on and watch it go. Make yourself unstoppable. Dreams are irresponsible, but they're always possible. If you just believe, you could be so remarkable. Thoughts in my head, a collage and they spread. I'll be great one day, going off of my meds. No, I'm not giving up, no, I'm not giving in. I will make it to the top, taking off in the wind. I gotta make it, I'm saving every day to taste it. I'm patient, but my mind, it can hardly take it. I'm chasing a dream that I've had for several ages, a vacant modern kingdom for the taking. Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help, I had to do it all myself. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit, I got no love